Hey everybody, NecroVMX here. Welcome to my channel, and you're listening to Potato Cast. It's been 2 weeks since I've done Potato Cast. I know I said I was going to do it every week, but I actually had a very good reason for not doing it last week. I was actually recording the intro to Potato Cast last week. It was right around 2 a.m., and my internet went down. And I was like, at first I was just trying to work my way through it. And then I came to the realization that it was not going to be resolved anytime soon. And I was like, well, this ain't going to get uploaded. So I stopped. I'll tell you guys what happened. I was sitting here, so my internet goes down. And the first thing I did is I reset the router. And that did nothing. And then I reset the modem. That did nothing. All the lights were on, so it didn't appear to be an outage of any sort. So I'm like, this is weird. You know, it looks right. So I tried to get on my phone, and it said you have to sign into the network, which is like weird because there's no sign in. You know, it's an open Wi-Fi spot because I'm pretty removed from other people. My closest neighbor is just far enough away that I don't think they could use my Wi-Fi if they wanted to. So anyway, when I hit the sign-in button, it brought me to... I have Optimum. It brought me to this Optimum page saying that it was shut off because the bill hadn't been paid. And I'm like, what the fuck? Because this actually takes me back to a couple of weeks ago. I was trying to use some streaming apps, and there was certain stuff that was locked down that I needed a cable password. And I was like, you know what? I should deal with that. I should call Optimum and find out what the cable password is or how to set that up. And I called them, and they helped me set that up. But they said that there was a balance due, and that it was set to be shut off on the 14th, which was like at least 2 weeks later, if they hadn't gotten the payment. And I was like, well, I don't pay the bill. It's part of my rent. I pay the rent, and then my landlord's supposed to pay the bill. But I'll mention it to him. So I called my landlord. He's a very nice guy, but not the most tech-savvy individual out there. And he doesn't actually deal with the bills himself. His wife does, so he talks to his wife, and she said that she sent it out. So I'm like, okay. It probably got sent out maybe a little late or something, and, it should be there by the 14th. So the 14th. So last week when I was recording Potato Cast, it was the 14th, or actually it was the 15th because it was after midnight. It was right around 2 a.m., and it was shut off for non-payment. And I was like really fucking pissed about this because they said they paid it, and I couldn't do anything because it's like 2 a.m. It's not like I could go wake them up to deal with this, And it's not like I could do anything, Like, what am I going to do? Call Optimum and be like, but I swear my landlord paid it, Turn me on, please, So I kind of had to just wait. So it was my night off for my healthcare job, and I'm sitting there with no internet. That sucked. Couldn't even use the Optimum hotspot because everything was shut off. Even my TV was shut off. I don't have phone through them. Phone's through Verizon. So I played some Civilization. I played some Call of Duty. Went to Walmart, bought a new pair of shoes. I literally walked through my shoes ever since I started exercising. Walking has been my primary form of exercise, and I wore through that pair of shoes. Especially since fucking Pokemon Go came out. I have been playing that, and I do enjoy it. And I'm actually gonna talk a little bit about my Pokemon Go experience and tell you guys what attracts me to it later on. But I just want to let you guys know what happened with the internet. So then I waited for about 8:30 in the morning, and then I went over to my landlord, and he was like, oh, well, let me talk to her. And she's like, but I sent it. And she said she sent the check out on the 6th. So she called them, and I don't know what she did, but she got it turned on, and it was on within 15 minutes. So that's taken care of, but that sucked. But they were really pissed because it was the first time they had ever been late with a payment, and they shut me right off, And I was like, oh, that's kind of fucked up. But I guess they don't fuck around at Optimum, but it's all taken care of now. When I got this place, the cable, meaning cable television, was included in the rent. And when I asked about internet, they were like, oh, that's not included. And I'm like, but you can, can you get internet for me? And they're like, well, it's they found that it was like an extra $30, so I just like pay an extra $30 on my rent, and they take care of that. But, you know, that's why there was no Potato Cast and why there wasn't really any uploads that day. It's also why there was no movie review. There is going to be a movie review this week, which is Star Trek Beyond. It's going to be probably in a few hours. Probably early Friday morning. Right now it's late Thursday evening. It's 11 o'clock as I'm recording this. Probably sometime around 6 a.m. or so is probably when I'll do the review. Yeah, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Star Trek Beyond in this video, actually. I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything, but I'm going to talk about a few things regarding Star Trek Beyond that I'm not going to put in the review. So, it's another thing that I'll be talking about. But let me get to your questions and comments. Let's see. So, BioPhoenix says, laughing off haters is the best. Yeah, the 3DS library is very huge. I think he means very. With tons of great first-party and third-party games, where the Vita is mostly a niche market for RPGs and other off-the-wall games, which is something I think you mean which is something I like myself, but it's not for everyone. I like it too. I just wish there was more for it. I wish the Vita was more successful because I do really like it. Also, I got Azure Striker during the Steam sale, and it's a lot of fun. Can't wait for your next series. Yeah, Azure Striker Gunvolt, I did get that on the 3DS, but I do want to get it for Steam simply because I want to do a Let's Play of it one day. So I'd probably buy it again. Ross Edwards says, in regards to the Metal Blades, an old Let's Play from years and years ago mentioned how he liked to imagine Holy Diver every time a metal blade is in the air. I still do this to this day. Who was that? I don't think it was me, because I don't remember that. I think you're talking about somebody, another Let's Player. I did Let's Play Mega Man 2 a long time ago, but what was that? Oh, it's my fucking cousin poking me about Words with Friends. He can wait. I don't know why you'd imagine Holy Diver from Metal Blades. That's weird. I don't know. Whatever, man. Can you imagine that? Like, you start spraying Metal Blades and it's like, Holy Diver! Or do you mean like literally like the Famicom game? I don't know. Alright, moving on here. Okay, so this next one's from Elik Anoi. And, he was one of the people that I called out for, he left me a bunch of comments. I'm going to read his first one first. He was one of the people that I called out for being trollish to S-Serpent. Let me read his comment before I address that. He says, hey there, Necro. I would just like to know why you mentioned me and Gabe and the Gabe Tough Kid as S-Serpent haters. I didn't say haters. I said trolls. And I'll get to that in a minute. You said that I don't have a life? No, I didn't. See, here's the thing. You got to listen to what I said, but let me read his comment. I'm a certified fitness trainer. Who cares? Who cares? Like, seriously. And college student. Good for you. Okay, fine. I listen to your podcast whenever I get a chance, and to be honest, I need to catch up on some of your earlier episodes. I love your LPs. By far some of the best on YouTube. That's all for now. Take care. He did leave me other comments, and I will address that. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. The reason that I mentioned you and Gabe Tough is because S-Serpent did, okay? Whenever I listen to his podcasts, it's usually I'm at work, and I'm listening on my phone, and I'm not looking at the comments, all right? It's from what he tells me. So you need to address that with him, because that's, I'm going to be honest with you. You're saying that you're not trolling him. He's saying that you are. And to be honest, I don't know you from Adam, but I'm gonna kind of take his word for it. He's a friend of mine, and something that you said must have made him feel that you were trolling him. Now, sometimes as Serpent, he can be a little oversensitive. That is true, but I'll be honest. Like, you've trolled me in the past, and you know that, and we've addressed that and moved past that. And I have no personal problems with you, but for the S-Serpent thing, you got to address that with him. That's basically coming from him. And, on the last Potato Cast, I was defending my friend, and I will always do that. And to be honest with you, like I said, I don't know what you've posted, and I don't know why he reacted that way, but you gotta take that up with him. As for Gabe Tough, I'm sorry, man. That guy's a troll. I haven't blocked him, but let me go to my email here. I want to read you the comments that he's left me. I can only imagine what he said to S-Serpent. He hasn't left me a whole lot. But let's see. The very first comment I ever got from him was on the List Critics, and he said, "Is Tanya a big girl? Like, is she fat?" I don't know what that has to do with shit and why he posted it. I ignore it because that's what I do with comments like that. And what's that other thing he says? Okay, well, here. On a Potato Cast, he said, "Did you ever play strip poker games on the NES? Why do you look so weird?" Like, what the fuck is that? What kind of comment is that? And there was another one. Where'd it go? There was another one. There was another comment that he left me that was some bullshit. Oh, here, it's also on the List Critics one. I had to go back to that. This is what Necro is one weird-looking motherfucker. Gabe Tough, yes. Like, seriously? So, you're wondering why I mentioned him as a troll, why I mentioned you as a troll. Why I mentioned you as a troll is because that's what S. Serpent told me. Why I mentioned him as a troll is also because that's what S. Serpent told me, but also I've experienced it, and I've experienced it from you as well. Now, like, that may have been a bit of a misunderstanding, and we both may have gotten a little heated over that, and we've gotten past that, but you gotta address that with John. You gotta address that with S. Serpent, because that's your problem, okay? I wanted to address that because he, like I said, he can be a little oversensitive, and he was getting fucking pissed off. And there was a comment on the last Potato Cast before that one, 2 Potato Casts ago, that was, from that Woodchuck guy, and I'm going to address that because he also left me a long comment regarding this. But if you all want to know why I called you out on that, it's because this is coming from S. Serpent. And I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, but like I'm saying, if he's saying that you guys are giving him a hard time, I don't look at the comments. I'm going to take his word for it. He has no reason to lie to me. It may be a misunderstanding. It may be that you're asking legitimate things or that you're goofing off or whatever, and maybe he's taking it too seriously. But you got to address that with him. Let me go to his other comments from Alec. Like I said, I have no personal problem with you anymore, but like, I really think that, like, something's going on between you and S. Serpent where he sees you as being trollish, and maybe you need to talk to him about that and figure out why. Okay, here's your other comment. What are 3 things that you dislike the most about the new Ghostbusters film? Okay, I'm going to stop right there. I haven't seen it. And I said this in Potato Cast weeks ago. I know you said you're catching up, so I'm not like trying to be like, you should have listened, but I'm not going to see it for a while. It's not that I don't want to see it. There's a huge part of me that really wants to see it. It's just that if I see it, everybody's going to want to see a review. And right now, this movie is so fucking controversial for the dumbest fucking reasons possible that there is no way that I could do a review and not be trolled. And I'm not looking to fan the flames right now. If I see it and I hate it and I give it a bad review, I'm going to get people accusing me of being a misogynist and hating women and hating it only because it's all women. And if I like it, I'm going to be accused of being a white knight or being politically correct or whatever. So, like, really, I can't fucking win. As for it, actually, let me read your other comment. Hey, Necro, over the last couple of days, I've been searching for a great cast for a proper Ghostbusters remake after this disastrous 2016 film. Well, look, I'm gonna go and address your comment in full because I do think it's interesting, but I wanted to say that you're calling it disastrous. I don't know if you've seen it. And I am not going to say that it is a disaster, nor am I going to say it's not a disaster because I haven't seen it and I'm therefore unqualified to offer an opinion. I could tell you the trailers sucked. I didn't like the trailers, but some movies just have bad trailers. I mean, Star Wars, the original Star Wars, had a really terrible trailer, but it turned out to be good. But, Ghostbusters right now is... It's fucking certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes with a 73%. It's not super high, but it's 73% of the critics gave it a positive rating. User score is 58%, and I looked at the user reviews, and the negative ones are mostly just, fuck this because it's all women or whatever. And I'm just like, I don't know. I want to see it and give my own opinion, but this is going to be one of those wait for Netflix type of movies. So there you have it. So that being said, like I said, I haven't seen Ghostbusters. The reviews have been pretty positive, which I did not actually expect. Sorry, everybody's IMing me right now. I tried to. I did this pause it, like I pause it and try to like talk to people and then unpause it, but then everybody's blah 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 blah. You know. I am talking to Andrew and S Serpent right now. Let me pause again and try to get them to calm down. Okay, we're good. So, yeah, let me look at your Ghostbusters cast. Now, you're kind of talking about like a straight-up remake where you're actually recasting the original characters, which is not something that I would personally do, but let's see, you have Paul Rudd as Venkman. Yeah, I could see that. Jason Segel as Egon. And you say there's an asterisk next to his name because you also feel Seth Rogen would make a great Egon? No. It's... Oh, no. And I like Seth Rogen, but he would make a terrible Egon. Terrible. Jason Segel, I don't know enough about him to make a judgment call on that. You have Jonah Hill as Ray. I could definitely see that. And Kevin Hart as Winston. Tina Fey as Janine. I like that idea. Ione Skye as Dana. Let me look her up. I don't know who that is. I'm probably pronouncing her name wrong. Well, she actually looks like Sigourney Weaver. Oh, she's some... Oh, God. Alright. She's married to one of the Beastie Boys. I really don't know much about her. Louis Tully is Fred Armisen. Steve Carell is the mayor. I could definitely see that. Will Ferrell is Walter Peck. I could see that. Sacha Baron Cohen is Gozer. I don't know about that. I think if anything, you got to have. What's that chick's name? Tilda Swinton would be Gozer, but I don't know. I'm not really for like just remaking Ghostbusters. I think that they had the right idea with the new film, which is to do it a new cast. I think that, and also I got to be honest with you guys, and I've talked about this in the past. When they announced that it was going to be all women, I was like, all right, whatever. You know, like that sounds like a good idea. I think the moment for me, there were two moments for me. The moment for me that I started to seriously doubt it was when they announced that they were going to also do a male version. So I was like, why can't it just be Ghostbusters? Why do they have his and her versions? And I don't know if they're still planning on doing that. But I was very much like, come on, just do Ghost. If you're going to do an all-female cast, do an all-female cast. I personally rather it be integrated men and women, but whatever, you know? And the moment that it really sunk for me was the trailer. But I can't, honestly, I got to tell you, I can't say whether or not it's a good movie or a bad movie. It might be terrible. Maybe the critics are wrong. Or maybe they're right and it's great. Or maybe it's somewhere in between. And I don't know. I'll see it eventually, but it's not going to be anytime soon. Simply because I really want to wait for the heat to die down before I give my opinion on that. Some movies, you got to look at them, you know, after time has passed, I think. Like Avatar was one of those films that I think that everybody got really swept up in it. Where it was a love it or hate it thing. There were people who absolutely loved Avatar, and there were people who absolutely hated Avatar. Me, I saw it, and I was just kind of like, yeah, it's not bad, but it's also not good. It was just kind of, you know, eh. And then, you know, and nobody really wanted to hear that then, but I think that now, if I was to review Avatar now and give it a very honest review, I think that the people who loved it might be able to see the flaws in it now because they're not swept up in the hype, and the people that hate it might actually be able to see the good things about it. Batman vs. Superman was a big one. They just did honest trailers for Batman v Superman, and I think that was a really... They pointed out some really good things where they said, you know what? This movie is not as bad as some people said and not as good as some other people said. There are people that refuse to see the flaws in it, and it did have flaws, and there were people that refused to see anything good in it, and there were a lot of good things in it. So that's kind of like where we're at with Ghostbusters, and I think that I will see it eventually. Let's see, let's move on. Armageddon Time says, hey man, whatever you got planned in the pipeline, I'm down for. I grew to love this channel through your old series and continue to enjoy the new stuff, so whatever old thing you're bringing back, I'm on board. Did I tell him? No, I don't think I told him what I'm planning. I don't think I've told anyone. I don't even tell Tanya. I have a lot of new things planned, to be honest with you guys. One of them is a series that I will be reviving, and I'm not ready to say that yet because it's only in the planning phase right now. Another thing is going to be something completely new that's going to be like kind of on a month-to-month basis that's based off of some emails that I've been going back and forth with some company. I don't want to talk about it just yet because it's not written in cement yet. It's written in shoe polish right now, but it is going to involve my sister. She's going to be involved in that, and I also have plans for just like random videos that I'll be doing here and there. So yeah, and more plans for Let's Plays. You know, SSerpent21 #potato. Thank you for the great words, Necro. It's always appreciated. Loving the Mighty Number 9 playthrough. I think that looks okay, though I wasn't following it day to day like others who were shitting on it. I'm going to read the rest of your comment in a moment. I do want to address Mighty Number 9 one more time. You're right. It's okay. And I was talking with Tanya about it, and she's just like one of those people that's like super disappointed and just doesn't like it at all. And I'm like, it's like the Batman versus Superman thing. It's like the Ghostbusters thing. It's like she refuses to see the good parts of it. And I realized something about the way that she thinks and the way that I think, especially about games, but it applies to everything, is that Tanya has this very black and white mentality of something's either great or terrible. She either loves something or hates something. Very rarely hear her not do that, like something that's in the middle, you know what I mean? And even when it is, like, for example, like Star Trek Into Darkness, which I enjoyed immensely, even though it did have some flaws, I enjoyed it immensely, but because it had some flaws, like she was like, it was okay, and then, but then after a while, it just became that she just didn't like it at all. And I think that like she'll start in the middle sometimes, but always goes to like the 1 or the 10 on the scale. And me, I do see everything in more of a spectrum, and I think that you know, I could like watch a movie that I think is bad, but point out the good things, or point out the flaws in a good movie. You know, both are valid ways to look at things. It's just, you know, just the different ways that we looked at it. Mighty Number 9, like I said in the past, I enjoyed it just about as much as I enjoy Mega Man 1. Mega Man 1 is deeply flawed, but and I think that most of the people who are going to play it and enjoy it are enjoying it on nostalgic reasons and because of the great series that it spawned. But was it a great game? No, it was a good game. Mighty Number 9? I got no problems with it, really. I got problems with some of the things they did during the development and some of the mistakes they made, but that's neither here nor there. It really isn't. I know you're a Muppets fan, and they keep trying to make TV shows and movies with the Muppets. Do you think a Pigs in Space movie would have legs or hooves, as it were, or maybe Statler and Waldorf just suddenly showed up in a movie and made fun of the main characters? I'd love a Statler and Waldorf movie. I actually would love to see like a random scene in a movie that has nothing to do with anything, where Statler and Waldorf just show up. Like, you know what? Statler and Waldorf should be in Spaceballs too, because they're working on that. And there should just be a scene where they just cut to Statler and Waldorf, and they're like, "This new Spaceballs movie is terrible!" Oh, you know, you know, like it would be like that movie Airheads, where like all of a sudden Beavis and Butthead are there for no reason. It's just like one quick scene. Yeah. As for, you know, the new Muppet Show that was on ABC, it was pretty good. I enjoyed the hell out of it, and then it got canceled. And I'm not quite sure exactly why they canceled it, because the ratings were strong. It could have been expensive, but it's not coming back for a second season. But the one season we got was great. The movie, The Muppets, was great. Muppets Most Wanted, you know, it didn't make as much money as it could have. I think the timing of the release was poor. I just think that, you know, like, there is still room in this world for the Muppets, and I think they'll find the right thing. Pigs in Space, I think it works as a sketch, but not necessarily as a movie. So I'm going to move on here. Toker asks if the series that's coming back is Clearing Confusion. Well, I'm not going to tell you. If I was ready to tell you, I would have announced it right away. You'll see an announcement. Let's see. Oh, an awkward gamer, Ronnie, asks if it's Urban Legends of video games. I'm not ready to say. Yes, what do you think of people who comment midway through a video? Any real comments will be posted as a reply? Also, pro tip, silence your phone before you record your podcast up. No, I'm not going to do that. And there's a reason for that, because it could be important. Okay? The podcast is important, but it is not exactly the most important thing in my fucking life. So, if somebody gives me a call or a text that has to be addressed right away, I need to know about it. And that's why, like, you know, even when I do silence it, I still have it on vibrate and I'll check on it. But, no. I you know, really, like, to be honest, like, so you hear a phone alert every once in a while. Not that big of a deal. The Mogul Master says, you going to live stream or is it a little too late for that? Well, obviously, you know I didn't live stream. I do have plans for that, but I've been so busy recently. Hunter B. Brown says, I'm glad I wasn't in Dallas right now. Yeah, I'm glad you weren't in Dallas either, but, yeah. But this thing that's going on is just going to spread until it's fully addressed. That's all I'll say on that. Phagasaurus Sex says, I hope that Tanya's wrestling show will improve your opinion of wrestling. It's not all bad acting, overlong matches, and bad scripts. Well, isn't it? I mean, like, honestly, like, from what I've heard from people who are wrestling fans that I know, like, for example, Tanya, that's the appeal of it to them. You know, the badness of it, the kitschiness of it is the appeal to them. But I don't really watch Tanya's wrestling show. I'll skim it every once in a while just to kind of know what's going on. And I'll read the comments. But I don't have an interest in it. I don't have an interest in professional wrestling, and that's why it's a Tanya and Peyton thing, and Zach as well, who's there, and I know Alex is involved in it as well. But for me, personally, I have other things that I'm doing on Tanya's YouTube channel. One of them is something that I'm doing with Peyton. That's going to be a new show that's going to be... I'm not going to be in it. Well, I'm going to be in the first episode, but as a guest. It's going to be Peyton's show, but I'm producing it. And there's also the Let's Plays that I do with Tanya, but I'm going to tell you something about my opinion of the whole wrestling thing. If you're basing it on the old videos I did of, like, WWF video games, that was so overblown. Like, and I said it in the videos, like, as it went on, because I was getting so much hate, and I thought it was really funny, but at the same time, it was kind of getting old, where I was like, you know, like, this is a joke, I am joking, you know. Yeah, I think wrestling's kind of dumb, but I don't begrudge the people who do like it. The reason that I did those videos that way was because people kept requesting wrestling games, and I had to find a way to make it funny or interesting, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just make fun of the fans. And to this day, I still get comments in those videos, although lately, every time I get it used to be whenever I see a comment pop up on one of those videos, I would kind of cringe. I'd get the email, and I'd kind of cringe, like, oh boy, I wonder what they're going to be saying about me here. And it was always something horrible. But these days, it's usually just praise, telling me how they are a wrestling fan, but they think those videos are really funny. I do think that most wrestling fans are smart enough to get a joke. You know, to get that I was making fun of them, but I was also kind of making fun of myself in a way. There was a group of people that took it really super seriously, and I thought that was the funniest thing of all. But, you know, like I said, I think you know that those videos were not at all serious. Okay, let me address Chucky Wood's long-ass comment here, because I did mention him as somebody who was trolling as Serpent. And he's also left me some comments that, like, I could tell he's, like, being completely farcical. But at the same time, it's just like... Well, I'm gonna explain kind of my reasoning. But let me read his comment in full first. He says, whoa, 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 I just want to clarify something right now. This is the first time I'm posting a comment out of character. My name is Draymond James. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, currently residing in Orlando. I'm a 29-year-old married father of 3. I do enjoy Serpent's podcast and have met some awesome people there. I also enjoy your content. I mainly subscribe to the smaller YouTube channels that create good content. The comments I post aren't meant to troll him or you. I try to make these podcasts fun with my online furry persona of Chucky Wood. I do this to bring joy to your audience as an escape from the fucked up world we live in. I post online not to troll or make fun of people. I don't post mean things like telling others to kill themselves or make fun of them or say things like they suck. As far as my question goes, it was legitimate. I don't think it was, but I'm going to continue. And it wasn't meant to make fun of him or his audience. Several years ago, I lost my mom to cancer, and now I'm dealing with my wife's battle with the disease. I do what I do to bring joy to people, to make your podcast fun. All right, I'm going to pause here. Part of me wants to say just, like, leave that up to me. Like you know, like, if you don't think the podcasts are fun, then why are you here? Like, and then that's just part of me. Another part is to say that Potato Cast was never really meant to be fun in that sense. When I started it, and I think you can relate to this, Draymond, it was a way to cope with my own issues. And I talked about that early on, the issues that I was having with health, the issues that I was having with work, and I was going through a really dark patch, and that was a way, this was an outlet for me. So to be honest with you, I kind of take it seriously. And that's why I'm not busting out jokes and everything. Like, if you want fun, the Let's Plays are fun. The Let's Plays are where I'm joking around and everything's a joke and I'm not taking anything seriously. Potato Cast, it's a slice of my life. I'm trying to talk about shit that's going down in my own life and how I feel about things going on. And yes, I do talk about a lot of like geeky stuff because that's important to me. When you come on and you said S Serpent the movie and you're like, I mean, like, really, like, how am I going to react to that? And how is he going to react to that? Because to be honest with you, his podcast is also meant to be kind of serious. It's his thoughts. It's not a jokey thing. I don't mind people coming into comment sections and having fun, but like maybe the podcasts are not the place to do that. I do like lots and lots of videos that are meant to be funny. The Potato Casts are not really meant to be funny. They're meant to just... It's really more for me, to be honest with you. I do enjoy entertaining people, and the only reason that I've continued to do this has been the support that I've gotten. But it really is almost like a form of therapy for me. And I get what you're doing. You're also working through your own issues, and you're working through the losses that you've gone through, and I can totally respect that. But I think that when you're not upfront about it, and when you're talking through a character, people don't know the real you, so they don't know how to take your humor. Now, I always I was never offended really by the shit you posted, but like my reaction last time was just like, oh, this is dumb. I don't want to read all this, and I had just gotten done talking to John, that's S Serpent, and hearing the stress that he was going through. And you got to understand, like, maybe he's a little, and I've said it to him too, like, maybe he's a little oversensitive about things sometimes. I think he takes things more seriously than I do. But, yeah. I don't know how to react to what you say in here, except to be honest with you, like I said, I don't know the real you. And when you're coming at me as a fictional woodchuck, like a furry or whatever, and I'll be honest with you guys, like, I'm not a kink shamer, and I try to, like, say, let your freak flag fly, as long as it's consenting adults and nobody's hurting anyone, do whatever you want. But the furry thing, I find it to be creepy. Moogle Master, he's a furry as well. I've told him straight up, like, I find it a little bit creepy, but hey, man, whatever. He's always invited to come around and leave his comments, and he shows up to pretty much every live stream I do. And at first he was getting like trolled really hard at the live streams because he'd show up and everybody would start, messing with him about Bolt and whatnot. And I did sort of like say, hey, maybe guys, maybe lay off a little. Maybe it's getting to the point where it's not funny anymore. It's kind of mean. But at the same time, I don't try to censor things too much, unless people are really being bullies. But what he did is he just kind of, endured it, and I got to tell you, like, Moogle Master has a really thick skin. Probably you have to have a thick skin as a furry because, there's a lot of people who find it creepy. Now, I'm personally just like, okay, whatever you guys want to do. I just don't kind of want to really deal with it. But it doesn't make me think less of you, but then there are people who are like, furries are scum, fuck them all, bulldoze them into the sea. I mean, I did a zombie sneak attack song called Bulldoze Furries into the Sea. It was satirical. I don't really think like that, but I did that because, there are people that think like that. But that being said, when you're coming at me as a character, I don't know who you are and I don't know what your intentions are. Okay? I get it now. But if you were upfront about it in the beginning, like, I don't know. I mean, like you said, you're trying to bring joy to people, but I don't see any joy coming from, you know, casting S. Serpent the movie. You know? And, like you know, and I've asked him too, because he'll say like, oh, you know, I got trolled hard on my latest video, and I'll ask him, well, what is it that people are saying? What is it that's so bad? And he'll be kind of vague about it. He'll be like, oh, you know, the usual insulting questions and stupid shit. And I'm like, okay, you know, his standards and my standards are different. But as I said to Alec earlier, I got to defend my friend. That's just something that I'll always do. And you know, like, he doesn't know you. He doesn't know the real you. I don't really even know the real you. I mean, I don't know if what you're saying is true or not, to be honest with you. I think it is, but I don't know that. It's the internet, and you kind of got to take everything with a grain of salt. Let me read the rest of your comment here. As far as I would also like to add that Gabe Toff and Alec Anoi aren't trolls. All right, Gabe Toff's definitely a troll. I'm sorry, but like, I'm not at the point of blogging him, but like literally every comment he's left me has been like a dick comment. And I don't know what he says to S. Serpent, but I can't only imagine that it's not nice. Alec, I think that he comes off really strong. I think that he, I'm trying to say this in a nice way. I really don't want to be like mean here. I think he has an inflated sense of self, but who doesn't? You know what I mean? Let's be honest here. Who doesn't? But I think he comes off really strong, and I think that sometimes he can be a little aggressive, and S. Serpent's not a very aggressive guy, so he kind of takes things as being confrontational. Like I said, you guys got to address this really more with him than with me. But let me read what he says. They actually post good questions, unlike the silly comments I make just to entertain his audience. Again, we live in a pretty fucked up world, and all I want to do is bring a spark of joy to those who are dealing with this reality. I just hope that maybe one day most of our society gathers enough courage to remove the 10-foot pole that is stuck up their asses and just have a fun crack, a few jokes, and enjoy life. Thank you, Necro, for answering my questions on previous episodes of Potato Cast. Yeah, like I said, I read almost everything, and I try to answer everything, and sometimes I think it's stupid. And I thought your comment, the whole S. Serpent the movie thing, I thought it was stupid. That doesn't mean I think you're a shitty person or whatever, but like I said, what I said last week, that was coming from a place of defending my friend. And whether or not that's needed is a whole nother thing, but you guys got to address that with him. You guys got to talk to him. Like, maybe your comment should have been left on his video, and maybe you should have said, hey, you know, gone to his podcast and said, hey, look, you know, Necro said this, and it made me think that, you know, maybe you don't know my true intentions, and then tell him. Telling me ain't going to do much. I mean, I get where you're coming from. I just, like I said, it ain't for me, man. It ain't for me on Potato Cast. You want to leave comments like that, I recommend you come to the Let's Plays, because the Let's Plays are goofy, you know? I mean, that's where I'm trying to be funny. That's where I'm trying to entertain people. Here, I'm trying to work through my own shit and just talk about shit that's going on in my own life. And then Alec responded, so let me hear what he said. Sorry to hear that, Chuck. If you can maybe try posting legit questions, but in a funny way. The best part of John's podcast is whenever you Fuckosaurus, Fartman79, and Krusty post. Sorry he's not answering any hilarious questions. Hope that helps. Well, I didn't think that the whole like S. Serpent the movie thing was hilarious. I thought it was dumb, to be honest. You know, Chuck, you've posted some things that I did think were funny, and I've said that in the past, but obviously your humor is not resonating with S. Serpent. So, let's see. We got one more. It's from Captain N. When it comes to reboots or remakes, I think they should do one of Little Shop of Horrors, and I did tell him, by the way, that Little Shop of Horrors, the one he's thinking of, was a remake. But I digress. Let me continue. And Beetlejuice. I'm not really sure how they would be able to pull off one for Little Shop of Horrors, because no one could have done Audrey 2's voice better than Levi Stubbs. But he also did the voice of Mother Brain and Captain N. There was a cartoon series of Little Shop of Horrors, but I don't think it was that good. I've never actually seen that. But as for Beetlejuice, they also did a cartoon series of that as well, and I thought it was pretty good. It was okay. I think they should do another live-action Beetlejuice movie where Beetlejuice and Lydia were friends, like in the cartoon. No, don't do that. Don't do that. That would be like like the Beetlejuice cartoon and the Beetlejuice movie were just like so completely different from each other that if they did a live action movie that was like the cartoon, it would be bizarre. It would be weird because Beetlejuice in the cartoon was likable. Beetlejuice in the movie was the villain. He was horrible. I don't know. Who do you think would be perfect to play Beetlejuice and Lydia this time? To be honest with you, I think Michael Keaton could still be Beetlejuice. He's still a great actor. He may have aged considerably, but it's all, you put on all that Beetlejuice makeup, and I'm sure he could still do it. As for Lydia, it depends whether, if you're doing like a remake or a reboot, and you'd want to cast another young actress, you'd want some teenager that I've probably never heard of, just like Winona Ryder at the time was like a teenager that very few people had heard of, because I think it was one of her first movies. If they were going to do like her as an adult, maybe somebody like Moon Lovegood or something that could work, but I don't know. I haven't given that much thought. I think Beetlejuice was like perfectly fine for the 80s, and I don't think it necessarily needs a sequel or a remake. I think that I'm not against the idea of remakes. I just think that you have to remake things for the right reasons. And I think that sometimes when they do remakes, it's just that the reason is, well, we just think it's going to make money. And sometimes they're right, and sometimes they turn out okay, but sometimes not so much. And I think that it would have to... See, we talk about the cast a lot because everybody focuses on who would play this, but it's really... The most important thing when we're talking about remakes is who's going to direct it. And it's got to be coming from a place of love. It's got to be coming from somebody who had a love of the original, but it's also got to be somebody who is going to put their own mark on it. Like, one remake that I really, really enjoyed was King Kong, and I mean the second remake, not the one that came out in the 70s. That was terrible. But the one that Peter Jackson did, because you could tell that Peter Jackson really loved the 1933 King Kong movie, and he wanted to do his own version of it. He didn't want to do King Kong. He wanted to do Peter Jackson's King Kong, which is why I think it was good. It's never going to replace the original, but it's going to be just like an alternate version of it. Whereas the 70s version of King Kong was very much, we're going to try to escalate. We're going to try to escalate. Like, instead of him climbing the Empire State Building, he's going to climb the Twin Towers, and it's going to take place in modern times. So it's sort of the difference between a remake and a reimagining. I kind of see... the 70s King Kong as being a remake because it was contemporary. It took place in the 70s. Whereas the King Kong that came out in 2004, I think it was 2004, Peter Jackson's King Kong was a reimagining in the sense that, it was a more pure remake because it took place in the period that the original did. It was just, we're going to do things a little bit differently. It's going to be a little bit more plot heavy. I don't think anything is ever going to replace the original King Kong, but I would love to watch the original King Kong. I'd love to watch Peter Jackson's version. I think they're both great. I too prefer the original, but I think they're both great. The 70s one was very much an attempt to replace the original, which I think was where you get these mistakes are made. All right, I did want to talk about Star Trek Beyond. I'm going to do the review in a couple hours, but I just want to talk about one thing is, and I was kind of saying this to Tanya about movie trailers. I think movie trailers have gotten really bad lately. I think that, overall they've gotten worse. I think the golden age of movie trailers was the 80s and the 90s. I think after the 90s they started to get to the point where they were either just bad and just really poorly represented the movie that they were trying to do, or they were unartistic, or they gave away too much of the movie. And it is a hard thing to do. I think that trailers are an art form in and of themselves. And, I've seen movies that the trailer was better than the movie, And I've seen movies that were almost ruined by their own trailers. Going back to Ghostbusters for a second, like I said, I don't know if the new Ghostbusters is good or not because I haven't seen it, but I can tell you that both the trailers that came out were just terrible. And that's why I kind of came down on the side of this is probably going to be bad, because a comedy trailer is like the easiest thing to do. You just pick your best jokes, you know, and that's all you need to do. But then again, some good movies have bad trailers, you know, and some bad movies have great trailers. There have been comedies that I've gone to see because the trailers were funny, and then I realized that the only funny parts were the parts in the trailer, and that everything else was garbage. There was a movie that Jack Black and Ben Stiller did called Envy, which I saw based on the fact that I laughed at the trailer, and then the movie was fucking awful. It was not funny. Like, there were a few funny parts, but they were all in the trailer already. You know, so it's kind of hard to gauge. I think comedy trailers are very easy to do, and that's why, like, even a bad comedy like Envy had a good trailer, I thought. So that's why I was kind of like, if Ghostbusters, if we're coming at this from being a comedy, which Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 were comedies, so I'm assuming the new one is also a comedy. The trailer didn't do much for me. So that's kind of saying a lot. But, you know, getting back to what the hell I'm talking about, Star Trek Beyond had 2 trailers. The first trailer was the one with the Beastie Boys in it. And, you know, the Beastie Boys song Sabotage, and everybody just, like, flipped the fuck out. And I think that everybody just gets, like, so wound up about trailers these days. Like basically, like, okay, I didn't like the Ghostbusters trailer either, but there were people who were acting like the Ghostbusters trailer was the Holocaust. And let's face it, that's kind of fucking ridiculous. When you say it out loud in that sense, it is really ridiculous. And I still think it's ridiculous. Even if the movie is as bad as that, it's still ridiculous to have that kind of reaction to a movie trailer. Or a trailer for anything. You know, that being said, the Star Trek Beyond trailer, I kind of, you know, or the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare trailer, or the Mighty Number 9 trailer. I kind of don't agree with the choices that were made, but, you know, like the Mighty Number 9 trailer, like the one that everybody hated, I just turned off the sound, you know. I was like, the gameplay looks interesting. This guy talking, he's got to shut the fuck up, you know. And everybody else was like, oh my god, this is shit. Like, before the game came out, they were saying it was shit because of the trailer. And I think that people need to calm their tits a little bit about these things. The Star Trek Beyond trailer, everybody was talking about what a terrible choice it was to have Sabotage by the Beastie Boys. And, you know, I can kind of see where they're coming from. Sabotage was in the first Star Trek movie. And I don't mean Star Trek the Motion Picture, but I mean the first Star Trek movie in this current series, the one that was just called Star Trek. The scene where Kirk was a kid and he had stolen his stepdad's car and he was going for a joyride and he was blasting the Beastie Boys, and then, you know, he threw the car off a cliff, and there was the robot cop, you know, and that was like, you know, that was really cool and everything, but it wasn't in the trailer, and everybody was talking about how inappropriate it was to use Sabotage in the trailer. And I'm like, I like Sabotage, but I kind of agree because, you know, for a movie trailer for Star Trek, you want, like, symphonic music. And then they did the second trailer, which had Rihanna's new song, which is like I Hit a Wall or something like that. It's a pretty good song, but once again, people were saying, okay, this is a little bit more appropriate, but still, like, what the fuck, you know? Like, why are they using pop music in the trailer? Well, I've seen Star Trek Beyond, and by the way, I loved it. You know, spoiler alert for the review, but you guys will hear about why I loved it, but I loved it. And I gotta say that there was a very good reason they used Beastie Boys in the trailer. And not only is the song in the movie, but it's not like Star Trek 1, you know, the one that was just called Star Trek 09. It's not like that, where it was just put in there as sort of a thing, like just to show that Kirk was this rebellious youth and that, you know, he liked this old hip-hop. And I do mean old. I don't mean old like from the 80s. I mean old like from the 80s, but he's in the 23rd century. So, I mean, whoever wrote the movie, and I do believe that one of the writers was the dude who plays Scotty, who he's a really good writer, and he's written a bunch of movies, is a big fan of Futurama. I just want to put that out there. I could tell there were a lot of reference. First of all, I gotta say that Star Trek Beyond reminded me of a Futurama movie, and I mean that in the best possible way. It was very funny. It is easily the funniest Star Trek movie, and it's not a comedy like Star Trek 4 and 5 were. And Star Trek 4, I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, I gave it a mixed review when I did my Star Trek reviews of, like, the whole series up until that point. And people kind of think I hate Star Trek 4. I don't hate Star Trek 4. I just don't think it's as good as people say it is. Sometimes when you say overrated, people think that means bad. No, it just means not as good as what other people say. And when underrated also doesn't necessarily mean good. Well, it doesn't mean great. Like, I think Mighty Number 9 is underrated. That doesn't mean I think it's amazing, you know? So, well, everything comes back to, like, Ghostbusters and Mighty Number 9. I can't escape these fucking... I'll try to talk about Star Trek Beyond, and I can't escape these topics, you know? I think I managed to escape McJuggernuggets, but, I just brought them up there. But anyway, it was a funny movie. It was also a fun movie. It was probably the most fun Star Trek movie. It's not the best Star Trek movie. I think that, like, Star Trek 09 was a little bit better, mostly because of cinematography, and I think that Undiscovered Country is still my favorite. But this movie was fantastic. There was a very good reason to use the Beastie Boys. They used it in the movie, but not just as background noise. It was actually part of the plot. And I think that, you know, okay, so... If you don't want to be spoiled on anything, you might want to skip like the next 2 minutes or so, because I'm going to tell you what happened, but not in the whole movie, just in this one scene. It's not a plot spoiler, but there's a part where they have to take down this swarm of ships, like a literal swarm. And the swarm of ships has kind of like this hive mind sort of thing where all the computers are linked up and everything, and they need to disrupt it. And they figure out kind of they can need to use an old VHF frequency to jam them, to sort of disrupt the swarm and make them all explode, and they need something loud and distracting. And it was funny because one of the new characters, Jayla, had been playing old hip hop music. She had "Fight the Power" by Public Enemy going earlier in the movie, and Scotty did describe it as being old, loud and distracting, and he was like, "Oh, I have an idea," and they set up, you know, like her music and you know, a way to broadcast it, you know, over open channels and shit. And they chose the Beastie Boys, Sabotage, and it was like the whole action scene it's going. It's not just going as a backdrop in the movie, it's going in the movie. And there's this cute little thing where it zooms in on Kirk, and he hears the song start up, you know, that guitar riff that starts up Sabotage, and he kind of smiles and he goes, "That's a good choice." And then there's a big Futurama reference. At least I think it has to be Futurama reference, where I think it was Uhura said, "Is that classical music?" And Spock says, "I believe it is." And that kind of reminded me of a Futurama episode where Fry was listening to "Baby Got Back" by Sir Mix-a-Lot, and Leela says to him, "You can't just sit here listening to classical music all day." And it's kind of funny, but I had a lot of fun watching Star Trek Beyond. It's not perfect by any means. Like I said, if I was to give you like my top 5 Star Trek movies, definitely Undiscovered Country is number 1. The one that's just called Star Trek is number 2. And then after that, it's difficult because I'm not sure whether I would put First Contact next or whether I would put Star Trek Beyond next. It's that tough. But I think I would put... You know what? I'm not qualified to say this because I've seen Star Trek First Contact like 1 billion times, and I've seen Star Trek Beyond like once. So I'd have to watch it a whole bunch of times. But in number 3 and 4 would be those two, just not necessarily in any order. And then after that would be like Wrath of Khan probably, or Into Darkness. I think Wrath of Khan's a little bit better though. So, that being said, I liked Star Trek Beyond quite a lot, actually. And I did want to talk about some of the things about it that I wasn't going to talk about in the review, which is basically some of the... Not only were there references to Futurama bits, But like I said, the general feel of it was like a Futurama movie. And if you guys remember when Futurama first got canceled, they released a bunch of movies. Not like big theatrical releases, but like, they were aired on television. And later on, when they brought back Futurama, they made the movies into sort of missing seasons where they actually chopped up the movies into episodes. There's some great references. There's something that Kirk says at the very, very beginning of the movie where he says he feels that everything has gotten kind of episodic and that he's kind of bored. He also says that it's been 3 years into the 5-year mission. And I thought about it later. I was like, oh shit. Star Trek lasted 3 years. Like the original Star Trek was 3 seasons and it was 3 years of the 5-year mission. And it's like interesting. Like he was thinking about hanging it up after 3 years when that's when the series got prematurely canceled. As for the 4th and 5th year of the 5-year mission, I kind of think the animated series covers that. And then they came in for a refit, and that's when Star Trek the motion picture happened, years later. But I really, really liked it. I will go over details in my review, what worked, what didn't work. Very little didn't work. It was really just some issues I had with the camera work. But really fucking cool movie. Really fucking cool movie. There was other stuff I wanted to get to, but I realized this episode has gone kind of overlong. Is there anything else I want to talk about? I mean, I did kind of hint at, like, some of the stuff I have coming up on the channel and whatnot, and, The Mighty Number 9 Let's Play is almost done. I think there's, like, 2 videos left. Let me look at that, actually. Let's Plays. Mighty Number 9. There's 3 videos? Okay, there's 2 videos on Trinity. Because that's the last level, and it took me 2 videos because the last boss is fucking hard. And then there's 1 video, which is the DLC level, Vermilion Destroyer. So there's 3 videos left. And then after that, I'm going to start up... Well, I have Kirby's Dream Land. It's only 2 videos, and then Braid after that. Dragon Quest IV is coming to a close as well soon. I've actually already beaten the game, and I'm on the post-game content right now, and that happened months ago, but right now is in the uploads. So there's not much left of that. Castlevania Portrait of Ruin is coming out after that. I had a lot of fun playing that. I look forward to you guys watching that. And of course, there's going to be more stuff. There's going to be a lot of new stuff coming out. I mean, I really, like I said, one of the things I'm going to do is going to be an old series that I'm bringing back, and another thing that I'm going to do is a fucking new thing with my sister that is going to be really cool. But that's going to be like on a month-to-month thing. The next Cooking with VMX is probably going to be maybe in the next 2 weeks or so. It's going to be we're going to cook stuffed peppers, and it's not going to be a competition episode, although Kristen will be cooking in it. It's just going to be kind of like showing you my way of doing it, showing you her way of doing it, which are kind of similar, but we're going to have a lot of fun because we both really like stuffed peppers. I'm probably going to be going like super healthy on it just because that's the way I've been. Speaking of which, I have relaxed the diet a little bit where I cheat a little bit more often. Maybe instead of once a week, I cheat maybe like twice a week. And that is because I'm halfway to my goal. I've lost 38 pounds. And the goal was to, lose like about 78 to 80 pounds. So I see myself as being halfway there and I can kind of chill out a little bit. Oh, yeah, I know. I want to talk about Pokemon Go. I like Pokemon Go. I just want to let that... I did want to mention this. Pokemon Go is fucking cool, and the reason I got into it is actually because, I never really was much for Pokemon. Because I played Pokemon Red on the Game Boy, and I was just kind of like, well, this is pretty good. But after a while, I got bored with it. Now, I do want to kind of go back and play the Pokemon games, and a matter of fact, Pokemon Go has kind of convinced me that they would make pretty entertaining Let's Plays someday, so I might do that. That being said, Pokemon Go, I'm bringing up the app right now, is really cool, and the reason I got into it is because there are people I know who, like me, have only played like one Pokemon game, and that was like ages ago, or people that are just not into Pokemon at all suddenly are super into this app, and I'm like, well, I should check it out. So check it out. I like it. To me, like, some people are all about getting their Pokemon to be super powerful and going to gyms and taking them over and all that shit. That's all well and good. But for me, when I found out that you can name them whatever you want, and that there's no restrictions on what you can name them, I started going a little ham. So I'm going to give you guys, I'm not going to name like every fucking Pokemon I have, but I'm going to give you guys a selection of goofy names that I've given them, just because that's the whole fun of it to me. My starter was a Charmander. He's lizard face. I also have a Squirtle. He's called Hola Dea. If you get that joke, let me know. You should. If you don't get it, that's kind of sad, actually. I have a Metapod called Cuck-oon. I thought that was kind of fun. My Pidgeys have funny names. They're Kumodi, Kuhan Luke, and Useless Bird. And I have evolved ones called LL Cool-J and Joe Koo. I do have a Fearow called Ballbuster because I caught it in town, and it took like 15 balls. Not because I was missing, but because I kept breaking them, so I called him Ballbuster. Nidorans, the female ones are blue, and like they're bunnies, and they're blue bunnies, so I thought Blue Bunny Ice Cream, so I literally named them like Frogurt and Ice Cream and Popsicle and Frosty and shit like that. I do have a male Nidoran called Bunny Style. I thought that was pretty funny. And a Nidorino called Gay Telethia. If you get that joke, let me know. I do have a Zubat called Zubatman, just like that YouTube video. I also have an evolved one called Goddamn Bat. I have a bunch of them. I have an Oddish called I Am Root. I'm actually very proud of that one. I'm not much for puns, but I'm proud of that one. I just evolved one, and I wound up renaming him Puke Bulb, because I don't know what the fuck that Pokemon is, an evolved Oddish. I can look in the Pokedex and find out, but it's fucking gross looking, whatever the hell it is. I mean, it looks like a puke bulb. I have a Venomoth called Flappy Nope. I have an Aber called Pussyman. Some of them are sex jokes. Like, I have an Onyx that I called So Very Hard. I have a Clam guy. What is it? I forget what this guy's called. Oh, Shelder. Shelder called Cunnilingus. You could probably guess why. All my Drowsies are politicians, because the first one I got, I was just like, this is big fat pig. I'm going to call him Chris Christie. And I wound up naming, and then I'm like, all the fucking Drowsies that I catch are going to be politicians. I have a Donald Trump, I have a Hillary Clinton, and I have one that I haven't named. But I wound up renaming the Chris Christie, because I decided, like, if I got a Snorlax, I'm probably going to call him Chris Christie. So, like, I renamed that one Mike Pence, because fuck him. I don't want to go through it. I have a Staryu called Chocolate. If you get that, good for you. I called out Tauros, which I guess they're pretty rare. I call them Bullshit. And I have a Flareon called Firecrotch. I have a lot. Like, I have 111 of these little fuckers, so I don't want to go through all of them. But I did want to give you guys an idea of like some of the names I've given. To me, that's the fun of it. And I thought, like, well, if I can do that in the Pokemon games, like, you know, for Game Boy and DS and all that shit, they might make good Let's Plays. Let me know. Do you guys want to see me Let's Play Pokemon games? Because I think it could be fun. You know, I think that, you know, like, the first one was, like, fun up until a point, but I think if I'm making a joke out of it, then it would be entertaining enough. Let me know what you think, guys. Anyway, yeah. I'm going to call it quits here. This has been kind of a long episode, and I have other shit I want to do. Like, right now, I really want to take a leak. So, I will see you guys next week. Leave me your questions and comments. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Let me know what you thought of the topics that I've discussed, and I'll read them out and answer you next week. See you guys then. BMX out.